It is Tuesday, February 14th. This is a Fox News alert. A major shakeup at the White House breaking overnight. President Trump's national security advisor has just resigned. Who is now in the running to replace him? We're live in Washington with breaking details.
And no more terror transfers. Gitmo could be expanding now. The brand new plan under President Trump for the prison. We'll tell you about that.
What do you mean you're out of chocolate? How can that be? Everybody wants chocolate. I'm out of chocolate. I need chocolate.
And a sweet treat just in time for Valentine's Day. Why chocolate lovers are in luck this morning. Fox and Friends First starts right now.
Good morning. Love is in the air. It's Valentine's Day. Almost forgot about that. Good morning to all of you. You're watching Fox and Friends First on this Tuesday morning. I'm Heather Nauert in for Heather Childress today.
And I'm Rob Schmidt. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
Thanks for starting your day with us. And straight to a Fox News alert this morning. We'll search for a new national security advisor front and center after a White House shakeup.
Yeah, General Mike Flynn resigning overnight over those controversial calls placed to Russia. Griff Jenkins is live for us at our nation's capital with the breaking details. Griff, what happened and who's standing in to replace him now?
Good morning, Heather and Rob. That's right. National Security Advisor Michael Flynn resigning amid controversy over his contact with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak in December. General Flynn issuing this statement late last night. Quote, unfortunately, because of the fast pace of events, I inadvertently briefed the Vice President-elect and others with incomplete information regarding my phone calls with the Russian ambassador. I have sincerely apologized to the President and the Vice President, and they have accepted my apology. Flynn had initially indicated that he had not discussed the lifting of U.S. sanctions with his Russian counterpart in those conversations with top officials, including Vice President Pence. The matter is now being looked at and under investigation if he actually violated any laws. All of this coming as a major setback. It's important to remember that this is just the 25th day of this young administration, and to lose such a valued confidant is a tough thing. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Waltz, a Fox News contributor who served in the George H.W. Bush administration, talked to Kelly Wright overnight and had this to say.
Having served in the White House as the national security advisor, the senior staff absolutely has to have the confidence of the president, the confidence of the vice president. And if that is broken in any way, you have to move us up.
So here's where we are. The president has named Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, the current National Security Council Chief of Staff, as acting National Security Advisor. Kellogg is one of three names already being floated as possible replacements for Flynn. Also topping the list, you see there General David Petraeus and Vice Admiral Robert Harward, a former Navy SEAL, a tough guy, as they say, around the White House. One thing's for sure, they are huddling today on this Valentine's Day trying to figure their way out of this. And it's important to also note that this position is not subject to confirmation. The president names this person, and it is an important one to name. We'll see what happens later today.
Yeah, it certainly is. All right, Griff, thank you so much.
Griff.
Well, Fox News contributor and former chief speechwriter to George H.W. Bush, Mark Thiessen, is calling this a cover-up without a crime.
He says that Lieutenant General Flynn didn't do anything wrong until he misled the vice president.
The problem is always the cover-up is almost always worse than the crime. So if he hadn't lied to Vice President Pence, I think he'd be perfectly fine, because quite frankly, he did nothing illegal. Having that conversation with the Russian ambassador is not against the law. However, there were crimes committed against him. It is, for example, against the United States law to spy on an American citizen. If you are listening in on the Russian ambassador and you get a conversation with an American, there are steps that have to be taken to mitigate that. So the fact that he's in an intelligence report, number one, is problematic.
President Trump letting the legal process play out over the border order backlash, appealing the immigration ruling. This is Homeland Security confirms the majority of illegals rounded up in these ICE raids we've been talking about within the last week are violent criminal offenders. Kelly Wright joins us now with the latest developments. Kelly.
Rob, good morning to you. President Trump facing a new legal hurdle over his executive travel order. A Virginia judge says it violates the Constitution, putting a temporary injunction in place, citing religious bias. Just last week, a federal appeals court in California upholding a restraining order that temporarily prevents the executive order from being enforced nationwide. The president's team at the White House now trying to figure out their next move.
They can try to rewrite the executive order to make it unobjectionable to the courts, or they can pursue the court challenge all the way.
The latest legal hurdle coming as Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents crack down, arresting nearly 700 illegal immigrants scattered over cities from Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, San Antonio, and New York. President Trump says he's just doing what he said he would do.
I said at the beginning, we are going to get the bad ones, the really bad ones. We're getting them out.
Homeland Security says 75% of the illegal immigrants arrested have committed violent crimes against others and are repeated immigration law offenders. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York wants details on the raids. He says, quote, reports that Immigration and Customs Enforcement targeted nonviolent immigrant families over the past week are deeply disturbing. Undocumented immigrants live in fear, and they are confused and scared. Meanwhile, President Trump says the United States cannot allow the wrong people into this country. He vows his administration will not allow that to happen. On the legal challenges, the president may issue a new executive order to replace the one being challenged in court right now. Heather?
Kelly Wright. Kelly, thank you so much.
Sure.
Well, the mainstream media in mass hysteria pretty much as the Trump administration cracks down on illegal immigration. But a retired ICE agent, Claude Arnold is his name. He says that these types of arrests are actually nothing new. Listen to this.
This operation was a fairly routine operation, the same type of operation they did conduct under President Obama throughout his administration. But it was being characterized as something that it wasn't. And what that did was it caused hysteria in those communities. In doing these targeted operations, which clearly were targeting felons, dangerous criminals, if they encounter someone who is in the country in violation of law, instead of looking like the other way, as they were required to under the policies of the Obama administration, they have the discretion to arrest someone.
Well, under President Obama, there was a nationwide arrest that netted over 2,000, that in March of 2015, compared to 700 last week.
President Trump says the nation's financial system is in great hands thanks to his pick for Treasury Secretary.
I share your economic vision and goals and committed to working with you to enact policies to grow the economy and make better economic opportunities for all Americans.
Well, Steve Mnuchin sworn in overnight after a tough confirmation thanks to liberal lawmakers. Up next, VA Secretary nominee David Shulkin to be sworn in this afternoon, and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has already scheduled dates to vote for 6 more nominees, including Ben Carson for Department of Housing and Urban Development and former Texas Governor Rick Perry for Secretary of Energy.
Well, a stern warning from the United Nations to North Korea. Stop testing missiles or prepare for the consequences. The UN Security Council condemning the weekend launch, calling on members to, quote, redouble their efforts to implement sanctions. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, putting down her foot, writing in a statement this, quote, it's time to hold North Korea accountable, not with our words, but with our actions. President Trump echoing that sentiment at a news conference with the Canadian Prime Minister. Here's that.
Obviously, North Korea is a big problem, and we will deal with that very strongly.
Well, no word yet what kind of action the administration plans on taking, but we'll keep an eye on it.
All right, an urgent situation at this hour as emergency crews race against the clock to repair the crumbling spillway at California's Oroville Dam.
Yeah, an approaching storm now threatening the vital efforts to drain 50 feet from that swelling lake in Oroville.
More rain is not what they need. Nearly 200,000 people leaving everything behind amid fears the dam's heavily damaged main spillway could fail.
Yeah, no longer using the emergency system. Crews are pumping hundreds of thousands of gallons of water through each second. It's holding up for now, but that rain could bring a real catastrophe. So a lot of folks very nervous about that.
Yeah, the irony here, we've been begging for rain in California for all these years. Janice Dean now here with the very latest. Janice.
Hi, Janice. Yes, good morning to you both. Unfortunately, we're going to be dealing with more rain in the forecast on Thursday. Right now, radar looks clear, but that impending storm is on its way. So there's Orville as we get into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We're not talking about a deluge of rain, but any more rain is going to cause a potentially catastrophic situation. And let's look at the forecast precipitation again. Along the coast, you could receive several inches of rainfall. Interior sections, half an inch to an inch. But again, they don't need to hear any more of that news. And we have seen epic rainfall this winter across California, which has helped the drought situation. But flooding, mudslides, rock slides, and avalanche concerns are going to be ongoing. So again, the next 24 to 36 hours clear, and then that next storm system moves in, and we'll be certainly forecasting it for you. Also want to mention we do have some snow and rain across New Mexico, the southwest into Texas. That's where we could have the potential for severe weather today. Large hail, damaging winds, isolated tornadoes for southeast Texas. Then that system is going to move eastward. Also watching the potential for lake effect snow across the northeast. There's your forecast precipitation across the south, the Gulf Coast, and in towards the southeast. Quick look at your highs today, looking good. I mean, above average for a lot of folks. And of course, I just want to remind you, today is Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's to everyone. Hope your day is sunny and sweet. Back to you, Rob and Heather.
Oh, thanks, Janice. I always say this when we start with Janice, right?
Yeah, she's got the dress on, too. You're working Valentine's Day, yeah.
Janice, thank you.
You got it.
Well, she didn't win the agility competition at the Westminster Dog Show, but she did manage to steal the show. Take a look.
No, I was waiting for that. Oh, don't be a beagle. Don't be a beagle. Come on. I was trying to check out a little bit of, anybody left a message there. No, still good.
Hey, why wouldn't that distract you? That's Mia the Beagle, easily distracted, but she managed to finish the competition with a roaring applause. Westminster ends tonight with the Best in Show award. So we'll be watching that one. How cute. Who doesn't love to just see a dog run around?
And how does a dog not freak out when you get 50,000 people screaming at you?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, it is now 10 minutes after the hour, and they are known for promoting violence against police.
Revolution has come. Time to pick up the gun.
Well, we'll tell you about the Ivy League school now under fire for planning to honor the Black Panther Party.
Also, brace yourself for a rough ride to work. Your car could be making you sick. What every driver needs to know before you leave the house.
And that didn't last long. Why Playboy is planning to bring back, Rob, listen, nudity.
Oh, I know. I heard all about it already.
We'll be back in a second. Welcome back. It's now 1:15. Keep Guantanamo Bay open for business. That's the message from nearly a dozen U.S. senators in a letter to President Trump supporting his campaign promise to continue using that facility. Now, this move, a major reversal from President Obama, who worked hard to close that facility before he left office. 41 prisoners now remain at Gitmo. That's down from 242. Nearly 18% of those detainees have returned to the fight, according to government statistics. A military judge slamming President Trump, calling his words to describe the disgraced Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, the deserter, quote, disturbing.
He was a dirty, rotten deserter. He's a traitor, a no-good traitor, who should have been executed.
Well, Bergdahl's attorneys playing the president's comments from the campaign trail. They played it during a pre-trial hearing in North Carolina, claiming the soldier can't get a fair trial now. The judge has not made a decision just yet. Bergdahl is facing life in prison for abandoning his post in Afghanistan. The U.S. traded 5 of the Taliban's worst for his return. Rob?
Well, Heather, it's a slap in the face to law enforcement. Yale University playing host to a celebration of violence against police. The Afro-American Cultural Center on campus planning a Black Panther party as part of Black History Month.
Evolution has come. Time to pick up the gun.
The event commemorating the 50th anniversary of the movement known for its violence. The school has not yet commented. Yale also putting the PC pressure on Clemson after the university announced the renaming of a residence hall over its slavery ties. Clemson students now using the news to urge their own school to rename a building, renewing calls to rename Tillman Hall, named after former Senator and South Carolina Governor Ben Tillman, who was a slave owner. The school has yet to budge.
A historic night for college hoops as UConn women's basketball team nets 100 consecutive wins. They are amazing.
Berners to the three. UConn makes it 100 consecutive wins. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that never happens. The top-ranked Huskies solidifying their place in NCAA history, beating 6th seed South Carolina 66-55 in front of a sold-out crowd at home.
Yeah, the last time the ladies actually lost a game, well, listen to this, November of 2014. Aren't they incredible?
I bet they barely lost it.
Such hard workers, too. Yeah, right. Good point.
Crazy. All right, 17 minutes after the hour, cutting costs. The school now using your kids to clean the classroom.
Actually, not a bad idea. I kind of like that. And Mark Cuban for president, what the billionaire Mavericks owner just revealed about a future political run. We'll be right back.
And keep on wishing. Remember your dream is your only scheme. So keep on pushing.
Fox News alert this morning, an urgent warning about the flu as deaths spike and it spreads to 40 states. The CDC saying it has already claimed the lives of 20 children, including 4 in Ohio over the past 2 weeks. Just awful. The flu now widespread in all the states that you see in blue here. Officials say we are at the peak of the season right now, and they're still urging people to get vaccinated. So far, 14,000 cases have been reported in the U.S. this year.
Families, please be careful. An important note there. Well, a potentially deadly concern as federal investigators are now looking into Ford Explorers after complaints that carbon monoxide may be poisoning drivers. More than 450 reports describing a sulfur smell filling the car as drivers begin to accelerate. Now, the investigation focusing on model years 2011 to 2015. It's almost proven deadly for a California police officer who passed out behind the wheel before slamming into a tree. So please do be careful. Rob?
A lot of outrage over this one. Teen Vogue, the magazine, trying to normalize abortions for young girls. The magazine published a gift guide entitled What to Get a Friend Post-Abortion. This is in Teen Vogue. The article begins by telling readers that ending a pregnancy shouldn't have to be scary. They then suggest a series of gifts like an angry uterus heating pad, a girl power baseball cap, and a Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg coloring book. There you go.
That is something else. Well, students could soon have some sweeping to do in addition to their homework. As a mom, I love this story. Frisco School District in Texas looking into assigning chores to students and a desperate attempt to cut costs. The Dallas area district, facing a major budget shortfall, is now taking some money-saving suggestions. One, encouraging them to cut back on janitorial hours by having students do some cleaning. The suggestions going before the school board to review it. I like that. They could maybe take out the trash, some of it, certainly. Show some hard work. Not a bad idea.
You know, your taxes are paying for that stuff, too.
Yeah, I know,
right?
too. But I like my kids to do some hard work.
Yeah,
get a little
humility,
dirty.
right? Yeah,
exactly.
All right, does your sweetheart have a sweet tooth?
What do you mean you're out of chocolate? How can that be? Everybody wants chocolate. I'm out of chocolate. I need chocolate.
Okay, so Robbie, you're in luck this Valentine's Day. Why? Who has the answer for us?
Hey, Cheryl Casoni from our sister network Fox Business here. Some good news about chocolate. We all love chocolate.
Yeah, the good news, guys, gentlemen out there watching, it's cheaper this year. That's the good news for all of you that are going to be buying your sweetheart chocolate. Maybe it's going to go the other way around. Maybe the girls are going to buy it for the boys. But yeah, cocoa prices around the world, global cocoa prices, 70% of the world's cocoa production is actually, we're in a surplus right now. So you've seen cocoa prices at a 9-year low. That means that chocolate, anything chocolate, any day, not not just today, is actually going to be just a little bit cheaper. Also, you know, we're looking at spending for Valentine's Day. That's the other big story. If it's going to be dinner or a show, maybe you're going to buy jewelry, which is a very popular gift for Valentine's Day. Average spent right now about $500, guys, for Valentine's Day. So the chocolate is cheaper, but you're going to be spending an average of $500. Overall, though, spending for Valentine's Day, maybe it's because of the prices, 7.6% drop this year over last year for Valentine's Day spending in general. Maybe it's because we're all thinking about the $500 evening that we're all about to have.
Yeah, who is spending $500 on Valentine's? Are people crazy?
I was thinking the same thing.
Dinner, show, jewelry, gifts. A lot of people go all out.
You see why men hate this holiday, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so speaking of men, let's talk about Playboy magazine. Apparently they got rid of naked women. I missed that story altogether. But now they've got the naked girls back again. What's going on?
You don't remember me doing the Playboy story, one of the biggest stories of the year?
Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, so Playboy got rid of nude models about a year ago. It was a business decision, actually. You know, readership had been down. Really everything has gone online as far as that industry. And so they thought, you know what, let's just, you know, get rid of nude models in general. It's all about the interviews, right? Well, they're realizing now they made a mistake. It was a bad business choice. It hurt the numbers and the revenue for the magazine and for the empire, if you will, even more. Cooper Hefner, who is the son of Hugh Hefner, who's really kind of taken over the business in general, sent out this statement. He said, quote, "I'll be the first to admit the way in which the magazine portrayed nudity was dated, but removing it entirely was a mistake. Nudity was never the problem because nudity isn't a problem. Today we're taking our identity back and rediscovering who we are." Just to let you know, because it's about the interviews, they've got a lengthy interview with actress Scarlett Johansson in the new March-April issue of Playboy, and they're bringing back nude Playboy models.
I have to say, I saw this coming. This was like McDonald's stopped making fries because everybody's making fries. It's your bread and butter. You do what you do.
Yeah.
Playboy.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, so that Make America Great Again dress is getting so much attention. Tell us about the sales.
I know. Okay, so this was a crazy story, right? So Joy Vila, who, you know, was actually not a big name up until the Grammys, wore, of course, that Make America Great dress on the Grammy red carpet. Yeah, she got a lot of backlash, a lot of death threats, but she's laughing all the way to the bank because her music is now one of the top sellers on Amazon and on iTunes. Her single, I Make the Static, went to the top spot on Amazon after, of course, the dress on the red carpet, and then now her entire album is #7 on iTunes. It fluctuates a lot, but last I looked it was #7, so good for her. We should say she's going to be on Fox and Friends today to talk a little bit more about it, but she's, you know, hey, if this is what it took to get her album to really go out there, why not? And I like the dress. By the way, I was looking at the designer. Andre Soriano was the designer of the dress. I think it's beautiful. Back to you.
Yeah, good way to get attention. He was on Fox and Friends yesterday
talking about that dress.
Oh, she had yesterday? Oh, I thought she said today.
Oops. All right, time now is 27 minutes after the hour. Thank you, Cheryl. President Trump hammering the media for leaked reports, and now one top Republican is demanding action.
We're going to identify all of these leaks that have occurred over the last 60 days.
Well, the steps he's now taking to make sure those responsible are punished.
Also, Ivanka Trump advocating for the working woman, the prominent role she just played in a high-profile meeting, and why the picture she just tweeted is now sparking some controversy.
Watching Fox and Friends First. I'm Heather Nauert in for Heather Childers today. Hi, Rob.
Good to see you.
Great to see you.
I'm Rob Schmidt. It is just about 31 minutes after the hour.
And we'll go straight to a Fox News alert right now. The search for a new national security advisor front and center after a major White House shakeup.
Hey, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn resigning overnight after he was caught misleading the vice president about some phone calls to Russia. Griff Jenkins live in Washington with the breaking details this morning. Griff.
Hi, Griff.
Good morning, Rob and Heather. Just 25 days into this administration, National Security Advisor General Michael Flynn resigning amid controversy over his contact with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. Kislyak in December. General Flynn issuing this statement late last night. Quote, unfortunately, because of the fast pace of events, I inadvertently briefed the Vice President-elect and others with incomplete information regarding my phone calls with the Russian ambassador. I have sincerely apologized to the President and Vice President, and they have accepted my apology. Flynn initially indicated that he had not discussed the lifting of U.S. sanctions with his Russian counterpart, later admitting that he misled them. And as a result, the Justice Department became concerned Flynn would be subject to blackmail. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Waltz, a Fox News contributor who served in the George H.W. Bush administration, talking to Kelly Wright overnight, had this to say.
It is a shame to see this kind of controversy and see him embroiled in it. And if it does, it would not surprise me if it does emerge to be the case that he did truly step down to clear the path for the president to move forward with his policy agenda.
President Trump has named Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, the current National Security Council Chief of Staff, as acting National Security Advisor. Kellogg is one of 3 names already being floated as possible replacements for Flynn. Also topping the list is General David Petraeus and Vice Admiral Robert Harward, a former Navy SEAL. One thing is for sure, guys, they are huddling today, and it's worth noting the National Security Advisor is an appointment. It's not subject to the Senate confirmation process, so I think we'll probably see something coming swiftly.
Griff Jenkins, live for us in Washington. Griff, thanks. Well, the alarming leak that led to Flynn's resignation now sending top Republicans on a mission to plug the potentially criminal release of information, now calling on the feds to find and even prosecute those they say are responsible.
We're going to identify all of these leaks that have occurred over the last 60 days. And we're going to let the FBI know that we want to have an assessment on this.
Now, the most alarming release, we're told, came amid reports of conversations between Flynn and the Russian ambassador. National security officials, they say it constitutes a serious crime, raising red flags about a threat to our national security. The president and his aides vowing a major crackdown earlier this month after reports of a heated phone call between the leaders of Australia and Mexico were released without White House consent.
President Trump says the nation's financial system is in great hands thanks to his pick for Treasury Secretary.
I share your economic vision and goals and committed to working with you to enact policies to grow the economy and make better economic opportunities for all Americans.
All right, there's Steve Mnuchin, sworn in overnight after a tough confirmation hearing thanks to liberal lawmakers. Up next, VA Secretary nominee David Shulkin to be sworn in this afternoon. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell scheduling dates to vote for 6 more nominees as they try to file everybody in, including Ben Carson for Department of Housing and Urban Development and former Texas Governor Rick Perry for Energy Secretary.
Well, President Trump letting the legal process play out over the border backlash, appealing the immigration ruling.
This as Homeland Security confirms the majority of illegals rounded up in these ICE raids within the last week are violent criminal offenders. Kelly Wright here now with more developments this morning. Kelly.
Rob and Heather, good morning to you. President Trump facing a new legal hurdle over his executive travel order. A Virginia judge says it violates the Constitution, putting a temporary injunction in place and citing religious bias. Just last week, you'll recall a federal appeals court in California upholding a restraining order that temporarily prevents the order from being enforced nationwide. Now, the president's team is trying to figure out just what their next move will be.
They can try to rewrite the executive order to make it unobjectionable to the courts, or they can pursue the court challenge all the way.
Now, this latest hurdle comes as ICE agents arrest nearly 700 illegal immigrants scattered over cities from Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, San Antonio, and New York. President Trump says he's just doing what he said he would do.
And I said at the beginning, we are going to get the bad ones, the really bad ones. We're getting them out.
Homeland Security says 75% of those illegal immigrants arrested have committed violent crimes against others and are repeated immigration law offenders. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi of California wants details on the raids. She says the news of ICE raids targeting hardworking immigrant families is deeply upsetting. Tearing apart families and dragging parents out of their homes does not make America great. President Trump says the United States cannot allow the wrong people into this country. On the legal challenges he's facing, the president may issue a new executive order to replace the one being challenged in court right now. Heather?
All right, Kelly, thank you so much. Sure. Well, thousands flooding the streets, protesting. Fox News contributor and Wisconsin Sheriff David Clark, you've seen him on our channel. He has a proposed plan to crack down on illegals. Watch this. Well, Sheriff Clark wants to allow local and state police to arrest and detain undocumented immigrants, just like ICE agents do. Protesters say they're against it. It could lead to mass deportations. Clark apologizing for missing the rally, saying he was busy working with customs enforcement to identify convicted illegals. That happened in Milwaukee yesterday.
Well, gun advocates taking their fight to Congress to ease restrictions on gun silencers. They say these tools could help save people's hearing and could help hunters be more aware while out in the woods. It currently takes 8 months or more to get approved for a silencer, and they are against the law in 8 states. It's easy to see why. Critics arguing that easing these restrictions would make it easier for criminals to use them. Pot prices plummeting right now because of big business. The cost of marijuana in these legalized states falling 60% in the last year. That's because of big businesses growing more pot than the market demands. It's bad news for small businesses in the states that legalized pot early on because they base their tax codes on revenue. Now more states base tax codes on the volume sold.
Liberal lawmakers hoping to recruit Ivanka Trump to support a bill aimed at expanding family leave. Now Democrats calling on the president's daughter to back legislation that would provide 6 weeks of paid leave to all federal workers, including both mothers and fathers. Ivanka's been an outspoken supporter of expanding maternity benefits in the workplace.
All right, an urgent situation at this hour as emergency crews race against the clock to repair the crumbling spillway at California's Oroville Dam.
Yeah, there's a fast approaching storm that's threatening the vital efforts to try to drain 50 feet from the lake. It's Lake Oroville, and it's been swelling.
That's right. Nearly 200,000 people leaving everything behind amid fears that the dam's heavily damaged main spillway could fail.
Well, no longer using the emergency system, crews are pumping hundreds of thousands of gallons through it each second. It's holding up for now, they're saying, but that rain could bring a real catastrophe, and that's what has people so nervous.
That's exactly right. Let's get to Janice Dean for the very latest on this. Janice.
Yeah, it's been a rainy season for parts of the West, including California, and we have a new storm system on the way Thursday. Let's take a look at it. There's your satellite radar imagery over the last 12 hours. Clear skies right now, but we've got another storm moving in, and we have seen so much rain in this area that the drought is almost erased in parts of California. There's your future radar. There's our storm system. Then there's Oroville, California, where they are bracing for more rain. So a dry day today, cloudy day Wednesday, and then more rain in the forecast, unfortunately, for Thursday and Friday. So people are urged to listen to their local officials. Also want to make mention that we have the potential for severe weather today. A storm system out of Mexico bringing mountain snow and rain to New Mexico as well as central Texas, and the threat for severe storms, including large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes for parts of southeast Texas in towards Louisiana and Mississippi. So we'll watch that as it moves eastward, bringing the potential for more heavy rain to the southeast. Also, some lake effect snow for the northeast. Rob and Heather, back to you.
All right, Janice, thank you.
You got it.
All right, 40 minutes after the hour right now, a scathing report revealing security flaws at the nation's airports, and now a dozen TSA workers under arrest. An amazing story here, the brand new fears that are being raised.
And is Mike and Ike, the candy, are they gypping you? Why that company is accused of selling air? This is quite a story.
Potato chips are doing the same thing, aren't they? Yeah. A drunk hedgehog trapped in a yogurt cup getting a shakedown from police. We have video you have to see to believe. Coming up.
Look at you, send me one more shot, sitting on the bathroom sink.
Well, Chicago's Mayor Rahm Emanuel back in his old stomping grounds at the White House. President Obama's former chief of staff meeting with new Attorney General Jeff Sessions to discuss how to combat gun violence in the Windy City, and what a mess it is. President Trump has vowed to send in the feds if Chicago doesn't bring down its alarming murder rate. At least 400 people have been shot in Chicago just since the start of this year.
Well, President Trump slapping sanctions on the vice president of Venezuela, accusing him of being an international drug kingpin. U.S. officials have been investigating Tariq El-Sami for years over his alleged ties to the country's biggest drug trafficker, saying he helped orchestrate drug shipments and money laundering linked to a violent Mexican drug cartel. The Venezuelan government has yet to comment on this, but we will keep an eye on it. Wow, quite a story there.
All right, a Fox Business alert. The troubled TSA taking another hit. A dozen officers now under arrest just a week after a scathing report uncovers security flaws at airports across the nation.
Cheryl Casoni from our sister network Fox Business is here now with the charges that they are now facing. Cheryl, what's going on?
Good morning, guys. It was just a week ago that a government report found flaws in TSA screening of airport employees. Now, 12 people have been arrested, charged with smuggling 20 tons of cocaine through the Puerto Rico International Airport with insider help. Of the 12, 6 current and former Transportation Security Administration agents were charged with smuggling drugs into the U.S. from Puerto Rico between 1998 and 2016. The agents would make sure that suitcases filled with cocaine passed X-ray machines at Puerto Rico's main airport. They face a minimum sentence of 10 years behind bars, up to life in prison. The U.S. Attorney for Puerto Rico said, quote, "These arrests demonstrate the success of the AirTAD initiative, which has successfully allocated a dedicated group of state and federal law enforcement officers whose mission is to ensure that our airports are not used in the drug traffickers' illicit businesses." Well, last week a House report found that insider threats, like we've just seen in Puerto Rico, are a problem across many U.S. airports. The report found that lax security screening for workers with access to secure areas could lead to a, quote, insider threat. A New York congressman just introduced new legislation that would serve as a roadmap for the TSA, for airports, and for airlines to deal with airport weaknesses. Guys, back to you.
Scary. Cheryl Casoni. Cheryl, thank you. Let's check in now with Brian Kiltney to see what's coming up on Fox and Friends. Hey there, Brian. See you in a few minutes.
Yeah, I'll see you in a few minutes. Great job, guys, all morning long. Let me tell you what's coming up over the next couple of hours. It's Valentine's Day, and we have the tips to keep your love alive. You can only get them here, like scrapbooking together. How about that? And someone cheating on you when it comes to Netflix. We'll tell you that story that you got to act on today. We also have that singer Joy Vila, who wore her Make America Great Again dress to the Grammys. She's bringing her body here, and she's going to talk about the dress that and her body and her career. We also have Kellyanne Conway here to talk about the White House parting ways with Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. That happened about 11 o'clock Eastern time last night. And when all else fails, we have booked one of the great bands in the history of America, Foreigners, here celebrating their 40th anniversary, and they will finally tell us what love is.
Welcome back. A Black Lives Matter leader now sparking outrage for calling white people subhuman. Yusra Kogali posting this message on Facebook saying, quote, "Whiteness is not humexness." That's actually a word. It is a genetic defect of black people. Wow. While using a gender-neutral alternative spelling. She made the post months ago, but her comments resurfaced after calling Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau a, quote, white supremacist terrorist. That post has now been deleted. Rob?
Well, the $100 million lawsuit against disgraced cyclist Lance Armstrong is heading to trial. A federal judge refusing to block the government's suit in the nearly 7-year-old case. The Justice Department says Armstrong defrauded the government by accepting millions in sponsorship money from the USPS as he won a string of tournaments while doping. The cyclist was stripped of his titles and banned for life.
Well, is billionaire businessman Mark Cuban thinking of mounting a challenge to President Trump? The Dallas Mavericks owner hinting at a 2020 presidential run, telling Business Insider, quote, "We'll see." It follows his war of words with the president over the weekend, who tweeted, quote, "I know Mark Cuban well. He's not smart enough to run for president." Well, Cuban responding with a screenshot of an email exchange, reading in part, quote, "I may go after that job one day, and it could be against you." Rob?
There you go. Ivanka Trump stirring controversy during her first foray into the White House policy, sitting alongside her father, President Trump, and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. This was yesterday. She spoke to the, quote, unique challenges faced by women in the workforce. But it comes as major retailers like Nordstrom race to yank her merchandise from their shelves, with recent comments from within the White House prompting a congressional inquiry over a possible conflict of interest.
Well, going viral this morning, a prickly situation for police in New Zealand.
That's right. Cops there are coming across this hedgehog. Tough for us to see. They say was looking very drunk. A drunk hedgehog stumbling into things. It turns out it's because it had a yogurt cup stuck on its head.
Yeah, who can blame them? He can't see, right? Well, the police department says after a brief foot pursuit, they were able to corner the animal and then remove the cup. Their Facebook video of the rescue getting lots of attention and reaction and hundreds of shares that coming in from New Zealand. You know, we got to show you some cute animals once in a while, right?
At least he wasn't drinking. We don't have to worry about that.
True.
All right, 5:53 now here on the East Coast. Remember the delivery driver who stopped American flags from going up in flames? Well, the new honor he was given for saving Old Glory.
And the couch potatoes too lazy to get up, so they took their couch to the McDonald's drive-thru. Rob, that's where you were last night? Is that right? Yeah. All right, we'll be right back.
You've been hit by a smooth criminal.
Coming up on the top of the hour before you leave the house, here's what's happening today. The case of an inmate featured in the Netflix series Making a Murderer, heading to an appeals court, I should say. Brendan Dassey is serving life in prison after admitting to detectives that he helped his uncle, Stephen Avery, kill a Wisconsin woman. A judge overturned his conviction, saying investigators forced that confession. An approaching storm threatening to bring catastrophe to Northern California, where crews are racing around the clock to repair the Oroville Dam's crumbling main spillway. Schools there remain closed. Nearly 200,000 people still unable to get home, and fears that that structure could fail. We're watching that. And Michael Flynn has resigned as National Security Advisor to President Trump. Flynn says he inadvertently misled the administration about his calls with a Russian diplomat. Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg has been named acting advisor.
And it's time now for the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, the good. The FedEx driver who saved 2 American flags from being burned by protesters is now being honored by veterans. An American Legion post in Iowa presenting Matt Urine with a certificate of appreciation. He says it was something he simply had to do.
A lot of people just see it as a flag. To me, I see it as my brothers and sisters who never came home.
Well, flag burning is not illegal. It's protected under free speech. Next, the bad. A woman in California is suing the makers of Mike and Ike candy for only filling up the boxes halfway. She claims her $4 candy box was just 46% full. The manufacturer, Just Born, says the accusations are baseless. And finally, the ugly. 2 men under arrest after riding their couch through a McDonald's drive-thru. You can see the homemade chariot of sorts pulled by an ATV in Canada. Police say the so-called couch potatoes were drunk. No surprise there.
I hope so.
Everybody, thanks so much for joining us. Rob, great to be with you here today.
To see you too. Happy Valentine's Day.
That's right. Fox and Friends starts right now. See you in just a minute.